Hello, welcome to the show, guys. Welcome back to AnimeInkArt Live Talks. It's been a minute, it's been about a week or so, but I hope you guys are doing good. And for those that may not know what this show is about, we talk with different creators in the community about their journey in content creation and how we can support each other better in the community. So let's get a few people in here and then we'll introduce our amazing guests we have tonight. So I hope you guys had a good weekend. It was Mother's Day's weekend, so I hope you guys celebrated your moms and everything that they do for you. I hope it was a great time. So I'm excited to do the show again after about a week or so. And yeah, let's have a good time. So let's get a few other people in here. Okay. And all right. So today we have very special guest, Jade Aurora 1989. So they are a Detroit based Michigan based model, artist, illustrator, author, and entertainer. So definitely they do art, they do burlesque, they have their own books as well. So definitely let's get them on the show and let's get it started. Hello,
Hey,
how are
hey,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How was your weekend?
It was pretty chill.
That's good. And again, I just want to thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, no problem. So again, for those that may not know who you are, introduce yourself and what you do.
So, my name is Jade Aurora. I'm based in Detroit. I am a model. I mostly do boudoir and pinup. I'm also a cosplayer. I've been cosplaying since 2011. I am also an artist and illustrator, and I am a burlesque performer, and I am also a published author. The name of my book series is Motor City Witches, which I have here.
Yeah, it's amazing. So first, you do many things like I saw when I was doing my research, like you said, the cosplay. And I remember we were in the Fly Penny Cosplays end of year, cosplay collab. That's what I remember
Yeah.
you at first, and your books and everything. So the first thing I wanted to ask is what was the first thing you did when you started on this path of content creation and sharing it with the world, since you do multiple things?
So, as I said, I started cosplay in 2011, and I was introduced to cosplay by my best friend. We've been best friends since the second grade. So, she was going to cons, and she kind of introduced me to it. And then I saw, I guess after that, when I went to my first convention, I saw that most cosplayers made pages for social media. So I kind of started from there.
That's amazing.
I, yeah, I started my modeling career in 2012, made my debut as a burlesque performer in 2014, and then my first book was released in 2020. But as far as art, like illustrating, I've been drawing since I was 8 years old. So it's pretty basically my whole life.
Yeah, definitely. And I did see that you've been drawing since you were about 7 or 8 years old, and then when you turned 15, you decided to take it seriously. So I wanted to ask, what got you on your art journey?
Honestly, it runs in the family. So I've always been surrounded by art. My dad draws. My grandmother was a seamstress. My mom is a creative. She does a lot of crochet. So it's just something that I've always been around. So I can't really give a definite answer on what started my journey. It's always been a part of my life.
Yeah, definitely. And I also wanted to talk about, your company, Roxy Low Creations. And I saw when I was doing my research how you named it after very two important women in your life. And I wanted to,
Yes.
give you that chance to share, that story of what inspired you to finally start your business and the name behind it.
So Roxy Joe, the Roxy is for Roxana, who was my maternal grandmother. She helped raise me. Unfortunately, she passed away from leukemia in 2007 when I was 18. The Joe is for my aunt Josephine. And she actually died a few months after my grandmother. She died in 2008 from pancreatic cancer. And I named it after them because both of them were creative people. They were both seamstresses. Growing up for Halloween, my grandmother would always make my costumes. And I guess that's what so I'm not surprised that I ended up being a cosplayer
Yeah.
because I always like to dress up as different characters. So I kind of felt that it was appropriate to name it after the two of them. And I always wanted to make a living from my art because art has always been a lifelong passion. So I started out on Etsy and then it just went from there. And then, sometimes I would do art commissions from people. So I just ultimately decided to, make my own website.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely checked out the website. You have some amazing stuff as well. So, and you also do commissions. So for those that may want to commission you and they're not sure what you offer, definitely you can give the people the chance right now.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to commission me, you can check out my website. You can also message me on Instagram. I have a commission form. I do everything from canvas paintings, I can do chibi art, I can do character design illustration. And if you're an author yourself and you need someone to illustrate your book or do your cover art, I can do that too because I did the cover art for all three of my books. So,
Yeah, definitely. And we definitely have to talk about Motor City Witches because I remember seeing the book before and supporting it as well. And you also have three books in the series as well that I saw.
yes.
So definitely, what was the inspiration for Motor City Witches? And for those that may not know what the book is about, if you want to share that now.
So, of course, in the title, so it takes place in Detroit because I'm from Detroit. And basically, it's about four friends, Rochelle, Sarai, Trina, and Louise. So Louise, and I'm actually cosplaying as her. Louise she's kind of the mentor to the rest of the group because she comes from a long line of witches. So when her friends become interested in the occult and magic, she kind of steers them in the right direction and helping them awaken their personal power and help them embrace it. And it's an adult series, so it's not for anyone under the age of 17. But my inspiration for the book series was mostly out of frustration because fantasy is one of my favorite genres. But as you notice, until recently, there was a lack of representation of Black characters. We were either tokens or just pushed to the background. So I wanted to write a book series about witches, but it's for us. We're in the forefront. We're not regulated to the background, delegated to the background, basically.
No, yeah, definitely. And I also saw, like you said, that you do burlesque and pinup, and you did mention how you have an act called the Motor City Witches Act. So, how did you come
Yes.
about creating like what you wanted for the show, and like how you were basing it off of your story? 'Cause I think that's pretty cool that you get to like bring your story to life almost by like dressing up as the characters and having a whole act. So how did you come about doing that from the book?
Well, the character that I do the act as, she's also a burlesque performer, so it was easy to kind of create an act around her. Now, I'm currently in the process of revamping the act, so it's going to be like a mix. So the song that I chose is called 100% That Boss by Alexis Brown. If you find her on TikTok, she's known as the Glamour Witch. So I kind of took that part of the song, and then it's going to transition into the song "Threatened" by Michael Jackson. So I kind of chose those two songs because one, the chorus of 100% that boss is "I'm 100% that witch." I know I'm 100% that bitch. It's basically showing how powerful this character is And then incorporating Threatened by Michael Jackson is like she's magical, but she's also not to be played with.
No, yeah, definitely. I can definitely see it from like some of the acts that I saw and just just in general. And I wanted to ask, what got you into burlesque and pinup and the art form of it? Because like I tell people, some people have been in the show that have done burlesque. It really is like an art form from like the costumes and like the act and everything like that.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. So I started. I see. I've always been into like vintage fashion and things like that. So I started researching on how to get into pinup modeling and how to get into boudoir modeling. And then I made an account on Model Mayhem, which was basically a social media website for the modeling industry. So if you're looking for models or you're looking for a photographer, that's how I got started with building my portfolio. And I guess that became a gateway to burlesque because I started friending people on Facebook. One of them was a burlesque performer, and she started teaching burlesque classes in Detroit. And she kind of took me under her wing. But I've always been fascinated by burlesque because, me and my grandmother used to watch old black and white movies, and some of these movies had the showgirls with the sparkling costumes and things like that. But I didn't know that people still did that. And then I started learning about Dita Von Teese. But what ultimately led me to pursue burlesque was watching the biopic about Josephine Baker. So
Mm.
she inspired me to become a performer and like not just learning about her as a dancer, but learning about everything she did with the civil rights movement and what she did for World War II. Her story ultimately inspired me to do it because she paved the way for Black performers and for Black entertainers in general. She was the blueprint.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and I think that's like amazing that that was like an inspiration, for everything and for why you do it. And I would ask,
Yeah.
how has the experience been so far? Doing it and being able to go to different events and venues.
It's pretty good. Like when I first started, it was sporadic. I wasn't performing as much. And then, life happens. There were times where I had to take a break and then, the pandemic happened. So it was last year where I decided to jump back into performing and I started getting booked. People started coming to me and saying, "Hey, you should apply for this show. I got this show coming up." So the bookings just started coming in.
Hmm.
So last year is when I started consistently performing.
Yeah, I definitely saw like all the events that you did last year, and it definitely looks like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to ask, what got you into cosplay?
Like I said, I would say now, as far as going to cons, my best friend got me into it. But as far as cosplay in general, I would have to say my grandma. Because, as I said earlier, she was a seamstress. So, Christmas, Easter, and Halloween, Halloween especially, because she would make my costumes. And I remember in second grade, I was heavily into Sailor Moon. I still am, of course. But I told my grandma when I was 7 years old I wanted to be Sailor Moon for Halloween. And early in the morning before going to school, she would sit with me and watch it. Even when she didn't really understand what was happening, she watched it with me because she wanted to make sure that she made the costume correctly.
No, yeah, definitely. That definitely makes a lot of sense because especially with some of the cosplays, especially if you make the cosplays, sometimes the time it takes just to put everything together. So I definitely
Yeah.
understand.
Yes, and the how I vaguely remember how she put it together. Like I took ballet classes earlier that summer, so we used my white leotard. Then she made the bow, she made the skirt, she made the cuffs for the gloves, and for the hair. Her and my mom went to the beauty supply and got braiding hair and made long braids and attached them to my real hair, and they used red scrunchies for the red balls.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And I love how much like effort that she put into it, and I love that like she supported the journey as well.
Yeah.
And
It's
you,
like she didn't understand the story of what was happening, but she's like,
but she was
my
like, I support.
granddaughter, yeah.
That's definitely true. And also, I saw on April that you were no longer selling like your prints on the marketplace because you finally created your own website. So, what
Right.
inspired you to create your own website? Because I know for me, when I started, I also did like Redbubble and some of the other services, but I wanted like more freedom. So I always like to ask artists when they make their own website, what inspired them to finally make that jump?
So I was like, I still have a Redbubble shop for like for those that want to
Yeah,
buy T-shirts and things,
yeah.
but ultimately I went on Mayhem Marketplace and I left Etsy because I saw one Etsy started raising their fees, and
Mm,
they charge fees for everything, and then I also saw that they were allowing alligator Alcatraz merchandise. And of course,
mm,
that goes against what I stand for. So I was like, I can't be a part of this website.
yes.
So I went on Mayhem Marketplace. But then being on there for a while, I wasn't getting any sales or any traffic. And I'm thinking that it was probably difficult to navigate. So I started looking into making an actual website. So I went on Wix, put in had to watch tutorials on how to put a website together, but I made it work. So
No, yeah, definitely. And I love some of the like outside of the books and like the different type of merch that you have. I saw like t-shirts, I saw like the embellished mirrors that I saw at one point, before you
yes,
switched as well. So for those that are interested in like the merch that's surrounded, for your whole brand and especially Motor City Witches, if you want to share the different types of merch that you have. Because there's a lot of different versions, so I just wanted to give you that chance.
yeah, I am gonna update the website with the mirrors because I have to take like better photos of them. But I do have the embellished mirrors. I have stickers now. I'm also in the process of designing and making bookmarks
Hmm.
with my artwork. And I'm also going to start painting again. So pretty soon I'll be adding my canvas paintings. And also another thing I have coming up, I'm going to be making my own compact mirrors
Hmm.
with actual seashells.
Mm.
So they're going to be like mermaid themed mirrors. So I'm currently working on those.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah. So they're actual like they're clam shells. So of course I'm gonna paint them, and I even got hinges to put on them so that they close, so that you can open and close them like an actual compact mirror.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing those when you update the site as well.
Yeah.
And a few years back, you had a panel at, I believe it was Ishocon for the Motor
Yes.
City Witches. So I wanted to ask, were you able to get that opportunity, and how was the panel?
It was pretty good. So the people in charge of Ishokan, they're actually friends of mine.
Mm.
And they when I saw that they were creating this convention, they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be one of their first guests for the con,
Mhm.
because they're friends of mine, but they've also read my book, so they're fans of my work. So they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be a part of it.
Mm, that's amazing, and I'm glad that like everything worked out well. And I always find it cool when people make stories and they're able to share it through panels because then other people is able to get feedback and everything. So what was the feedback and like the response after the panel?
A lot of people enjoyed it, because most of that panel for that con, I was talking about the representation of black witches in media. So I was talking about like the different films where black people who practice magic were represented. And of course, some examples were The Craft, American Horror Story. And I was touching on the history of African spirituality, because in movies and TV shows, African religions like voodoo, it's still misunderstood, and sometimes it's often misrepresented. So that was what the panel was for. It was about educating and basically telling people, like, don't believe the stereotypes that you see in these movies and TV shows, because that's not what we're about.
No, yeah, that's definitely true. And also, I wanted to congratulate you because you were able to be in. Shout out to Talking Noir in their My Cosplay is Black calendar. So, how do you feel about that opportunity? And definitely share the process because I was in the 2025 and it was such an honor. So, I just wanted to congratulate you and give you a chance to share that experience.
It's just I was still like I was a part of their mailing list, so that's how I heard about it, and I just followed their process to apply and submitted my photos. But it's pretty nice to see myself in a calendar.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the pictures that they used and like when you shared it. I was very happy about that because I love what's up in the war and they're always supporting cosplayers. So I'm definitely glad that you got the
Yeah.
opportunity. And I want one question that I ask on the show is about support in the blur community. And usually I ask, what do we do well so far to support each other in the community, maybe uplift each other, and what can we do better to keep going in that direction? Because everybody has different experiences in the community, and I ask this question because everybody has a different input to that question.
I do like how supportive everyone is. Like when someone is posting their cosplays, you know, they get compliments, we get shared, and it's like everyone's sharing each other and trying to uplift and encourage each other. So I do enjoy seeing that, and I do like seeing us come together through shared interests, whether it's through anime, video games, and things like that. Something that I think should be improved is giving more visibility to smaller creators, because not throwing any shade to the well-known cosplayers or anything like that, but it's like there's a lot of smaller creators that do really good cosplay, but they're not getting the recognition that they should, because unfortunately it is not even the black cosplay community, it's the cosplay community as a whole. It's become a popularity contest. It's become more about who has the most followers, who has the most likes, instead of us just having fun dressing up as our favorite characters. And I think that's something that needs to be improved on. And of course, the misogyny and the colorism needs to be addressed too.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I thanks for sharing that because definitely what you said about like everything that you said is true. Sometimes like we have to stop like dictating like what or what doesn't work and everything like that because the whole point is like we were made fun of, for doing these things. And we found community in this, because we're like we finally found our people. So for certain people to go around and like use it against other people saying like, oh, if you don't do this, that, and the third, then you're not good enough, or whatever the case may be, or judging people for it. That's not the point of the community. So I definitely understand that.
And that's another thing I want to address too, and especially, and this is mostly towards the male blurs,
Mm,
especially because how we've all been made fun of for these interests.
hmm.
Can we stop with the gatekeeping and interrogating? Like, if someone says they're an anime fan, quit trying to ask, quit grilling people. Like, and you know how they'll ask really obscure questions
Yeah.
that no regular person would know or give a damn about, to see if someone is a real fan. If someone says they watch anime, if they like anime, they're a fan, period. Just because someone doesn't watch the most obscure anime does not make them a fake fan.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. We did have a little bit of a discussion about that with another guest, and they mentioned how people have to just relax on, especially the males in the community, relax on questioning women, because to be honest, like, we make up a big part of this community, to be honest, at this point, and we offer a lot, like how you have your cosplay, you're entrepreneur, you have your books, you're creating something that people relate to, especially when it comes to like whimsy and witches and everything that you do. But other people, like gamers and cosplayers, and just having these businesses that we didn't know could exist in the blurred community. So we have to acknowledge. I feel like they have to acknowledge that.
And also, just also want to throw that out there. If you do read my books, the main characters, they're also blurs too. Like,
Mhm.
in fact, one of the characters meets her love interest at an anime convention.
Yeah. That's definitely true. And I definitely wanted you to share more about like the characters and what were the inspirations behind the different characters. Because I find them just so interesting, and like when I was getting into the story and everything like that. So I wanted you to share, whatever character you want to start first, and then we'll, go down the line of what inspired, that character, and what the look and the feel of the character.
So Louise, of course, like I modeled her after myself. Like, in fact, Louise is actually my middle name. I modeled her after myself because we do share a lot of the same personality traits. Like, just like she's kind of a mentor and a nurturer to her friends, and she uplifts her friends. I'm the same way. I also don't take any crap, just like she doesn't. I'm also a practitioner. I practice magic too, so that's where I got the inspiration for her from. And helping people embrace themselves. And I'm the same way with my friends, because I have friends where they're worried about what other people think of them because of how they dress or what their hobbies are into, and I have to tell them, like, forget what anyone else thinks. It's, do what makes you happy. So that's, and I'm again, we're both burlesque performers, so I kind of just, it was easy to come up with that character. Rochelle, who is the one with the afro, she, like I said, she's a pinup model like me, but the inspiration I got for her, because one of her journey is regaining her confidence after getting out of a toxic and abusive relationship. And before I met my husband, I went through something similar. This was a high school boyfriend. We were together on and off for 5 years. And he was emotionally and mentally abusive. And after getting out of that relationship, I had to learn to regain my confidence because I had low self esteem, I had body image issues, and I had to learn to overcome that. And so I kind of look at Rochelle is the person that I used to be, and
Mm.
then Louise is the person that I am now.
Mm.
And Sarai, who, if you've seen the cover, she's the character with the
Yeah.
pink hair.
Mhm.
I made her so that those who grew up in religious households where if they're goth they have certain hobbies, and you know how it is, like if you listen to heavy metal, you're into horror, you got those households where they'll say that's demonic, you can't watch that, you shouldn't listen to that. And
Mhm.
that's something that she deals with. She's treated like a black sheep because she dresses in goth clothes. She's an aspiring horror author. She's into comic books. I made her because I have friends that personally went through that, where they grew up in really religious households. And I wanted people who grew up in similar situations to feel seen and to feel heard and represented.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that I wanted
And
to. Oh, sorry. Continue.
I'm sorry, Trina is the other character. She's introduced in the second book. She's trans, and I created her because until recently in most media, trans people were often portrayed as a punchline.
Mhm.
And, we all know how harmful that is. So I wanted to create a trans character so that that community is represented. And of course, I spoke with, trans people. trans friends to get advice on how to portray them as respectfully as possible. So, one of her struggles is she's kicked out by her mother because her mother doesn't accept her. And so that's something that a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community can relate to. So it's like I wanted everyone that are in marginalized groups to feel represented, because the media doesn't really like to represent us, or if they try to represent us, they don't do it in a respectful way. So I wanted to make this book is not just for Black women. It's for, if you're a whimsical Black girl, if you're a nerdy Black girl, if you're a queer Black girl, if you're a Black girl that practices magic. This is something that they can all relate to, even if you're not part of those groups. These are the characters that you could still relate to.
Yeah, and I definitely saw that you explained it a few times how you did it for people that have felt misunderstood, whether they practice like witchcraft like how
Right,
you do, or they just like to be whimsical, which you
right,
like to do as well. And you represent a lot of LGBT in the book as well. So
right.
I wanted to ask, how has it been, from going to book signings, like I've seen, and going to different events and sharing the book and talking with others. Have you found a sense of community in that, like finding your audience that you've wanted, and what has been the impact for those that have read the book as well?
So I have gotten like a lot of messages from people who read my books where they thanked me because they felt seen, and they felt seen, they felt represented, and a lot of the struggles the characters go through was something that they personally experienced, and they may not have had the courage to stand up to a toxic relative, or they endured toxic relationships. So seeing the characters overcome those struggles empowered and inspired them in a way. There's quite a few like local bookstores in my area. One of them is a metaphysical shop that they sell copies of my books there. So it's definitely a hit with the witchy community. Like I have a lot of people in that community that enjoy my books.
That's awesome. And I wanted to ask, what got you into that, into like the witchy slash magic side of things when it comes to like that practice? Like, what inspired you to get into it?
So, one, I'm a Pisces, and with Pisces, we're always fascinated by, things that are mystical and supernatural and spiritual. I've always leaned towards that path, even growing up in the church, because, elementary school, I went to a Catholic school, and I found myself questioning certain things, because it's like with how we have to do the sign of the cross in the name of the Father and the Son. It's like, why are we focusing on the men? What about the women? Like, why are we being ignored? And and also I grew up on Disney movies. So even though my family, we went to church sometimes, religion wasn't forced on me. My family is pretty open minded. My mom had tarot cards and she was into the paranormal and things like that. So it was easy for me to get into that. And then, after then, I guess in high school, I got even more curious. And when I was at a bookstore, at a Barnes and Noble, I found a book on Wicca and I bought it and just
Mm,
started reading it, and it just went from there.
that's awesome. I love how like I love how like Barnes and Nobles for a lot of us that go there like inspires so many different things. So I love that. And I wanted to say also, your book is also in Barnes and Noble. So how was that? Like when your debut novel first got put into Barnes and Nobles, how did you feel about that experience?
So I feel pretty good. So unfortunately, they're still trying. Like they weren't sold in like physical stores, but it was still on the website. But I still felt pretty good about that, because I feel, because a lot of people think getting published
Mhm.
is an easy thing, and it's not. It's a lot of work that goes into it. So I kind of feel like no matter who's hosting or selling my books, I feel good about that because that's more potential readers for me.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's definitely true. Especially with Barnes and Nobles, like whether it's in person or in the website, it's a place where
Yeah,
multiple people read. So definitely, I feel like that's good exposure, regardless.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
just my publisher, they're still trying to work on getting them in the physical stores.
Hmm.
But you know how Barnes and Noble, they're a little picky of when it comes to black authors.
Hmm. Yeah, I recall because I remember when I spoke to another author, they mentioned how like it seems like there's a lot more loops and hurdles when it comes to getting published like as a black author, which I wish that wasn't the
Yeah,
case, but I'm praying and I'm hoping that it gets into the physical like the physical store because it's definitely needed because I feel like there's so many whimsical black girls and queer black girls and just people in general that maybe felt misunderstood and they will relate to the story.
yeah. It's just thankful. I'm just lucky that the publisher that I'm signed with, it's black owned. Cause I was actually considering self-publishing. Cause I know if I tried to submit it to a traditional publisher, they were probably going to reject it for being like too black or too urban.
Mm. No, yeah, and I do hate that because apparently you're not the first person that has said that. You're not the first person that said that they do not want to accept a story or they don't want to accept a certain script for a film because they think
Right.
that it's too urban. But then when you either do it independently or you do it with a different company, then they come back and they say, "Oh, well, we're interested." We're like, "You gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta give people a chance sometimes." Like if the story is good, it doesn't really matter if you think it is there's an audience for it. That's the issue that
Right.
I find sometimes, especially with like when it comes to like mainstream. Sometimes they don't understand that.
Yeah.
And also, if you do modeling as well, like with the pinup. So I want to ask,
Yeah.
what got you into that?
It just so I've always kind of wanted to do a bit of modeling because I've had friends tell me that I was how photogenic I was, and I knew that I didn't fit the bill for runway modeling because I'm not 6 feet tall,
Hmm.
and also I'm not a size two. So I knew like runaway modeling, fashion modeling, I wasn't gonna really get in the door with that. But when I looked into niche modeling, I noticed that people still did the vintage pinup, and then there was the boudoir and artistic modeling. And I just kind of started doing my research on how to get started, and then I started looking for photographers locally just to build my portfolio.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I would ask, was there a favorite shoot that you've done since doing the pinup modeling?
I got quite a few favorites. I know one of the first ones I did when I got started, I did a Josephine Baker inspired shoot. If we say recent shoots, I would have to say my Morticia Adams shoot that I did is one of my favorites. And then my Queen Tiana shoot that I did, and that was the photo I submitted to you for the promo, like the crossover for Disney and Bridgerton. So I did a Queen Charlotte version of Tiana. So that's like one of my favorite shoots.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and I'm glad that like it's been such a fun experience as well.
Yeah.
And I would say, have you ever experienced, feeling overwhelmed or just juggling everything that you're doing? And what do you do to try to keep yourself grounded to keep creating content or to just keep creating in general?
So for burlesque, like if I did like 3 or 4 shows in a month, I may give myself a breather for the next month. So just take like a month off so that I'm not burned out. and then I may apply for shows for the following months. So it's like I'll perform every few months, and then I may take a month or two off so that I'm not getting overwhelmed or burned out. And then also, when you're performing, you're working out your body. So I also have to keep that in mind because your body is your instrument. So I want to make sure that I'm not wearing myself out so I don't injure myself. And for content creation like TikTok, it's like how I do it is like I may pick a day or a weekend and shoot multiple videos in a day. And then like I'll post one video every couple days and like the rest of them are in my drafts. That way I'm not scrambling to have to shoot something every other day or every day.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think like it keeps it like almost balanced the best way you can.
Yeah. And then I still try to give myself time to do the things I like doing. Like one of the things I like to do is play The Sims. So I may take a couple days to do that or binge watch YouTube or watch anime or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks to everybody that's coming in. I really do appreciate you guys. So yo, and then so I definitely appreciate that. And when it comes to doing the black pinup, what is your favorite part of doing black pinup?
Guess it's like, coming up with the fashion, the hairstyles, basically like also like do looking into like the research like the history of pinup because a lot of people don't know that there were black pinup models. It's just they don't get as much recognition because back then racism. So it's just I kind of it's just like looking into the history of it, coming up with the outfits, doing the makeup and hair and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely seems like it's very fun, especially with all the different type of outfits that you can do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, how has this journey that you've been doing, how has it helped you as a person?
It has definitely helped me be who I am unapologetically. Like it helped me embrace the fact that I'm nerdy. I'm a weird, nerdy, whimsical black girl. It helped me learn to not care what other people think because like a lot of nerds, I was also bullied throughout middle school and high school. So I was always concerned with other people's opinions of me. But through my journey, I've learned that the best thing to be is yourself. Because if you're so busy trying to be someone you're not to appease other people, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's definitely true, and I feel like that's definitely important, especially with everything that you're doing. So I'm glad that that's something that you learned, and I always like asking that question because I feel like you do so many things. So I feel like there's so many different lessons that you can learn along the way.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, I know this one is a hard question, but what has been your favorite cosplay that you've done so far?
I would definitely have to say the Tiana one. That's my favorite cosplay, and honestly, that's actually my most expensive cosplay because it's an 18th century gown. I actually commissioned someone to make it for me, and not only did they make the dress, they made the undergarments to go with it.
Oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome. And one thing I love as well is that like you're always open to standing up for different, like to talk about different issues, whether it's
yeah,
political, whether it's like to support black women or those in the LGBT and stuff like that. And then recently when you talked about how sometimes people that are outside of like when it comes to whimsy and just being a blurred and everything
yeah.
like that, they judge others for, being whimsical. So I wanted to ask, what inspired you to share those moments when share those topics and you shared with your audience?
It's just usually I will say what's if it's on my mind, I'm gonna say it. And it's just something that I've been observing for a while. Like I'll see people on TikTok, they're sharing their fairy outfits or they're doing cottage core or goth, like they're showing any type of creativity, and then you'll have people in the comments telling them that they're too old to be doing something like this, or they're making fun of them because they're wearing their hair a certain color. And I feel like life is too short for y'all to be that miserable, because how is how someone else's dressing affecting you in any way, shape, or form? If you don't want to wear colored hair, you don't want to dress like a fairy, don't. Why are you making fun of people that do? It's not like it's your money being spent on it.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's definitely true. I feel like God forbid we have a hobby, right?
Right. And it's just like with people who collect stuffed animals and pop figures, you're telling them like that's for kids, you're too old to have that. You don't know what their childhood was like. Maybe they grew up where their parents couldn't afford to get them things like that. So maybe now that they're an adult and they're making their own money, they're healing their inner child. And sometimes people just like collecting stuffed animals. I have a ton of pop figures in my arts and craft room. I have a Sailor Moon and a Tuxedo Mask doll, and I'm 37. Like, there's nothing wrong with collecting things. You're not hurting anybody.
No, yeah, that's definitely facts. So I appreciate that, you're not afraid to, speak your mind and everything like that. I'm sure that your audience and we appreciate that. And yeah, I wanted to ask, when it comes to your art, for those that may not know the different mediums that you use, if you want to share that now, like what's your favorite type of mediums you use or what you have used, or if you want to experiment with other things.
So my mediums, I do a bit of everything. I started out doing traditional art, so hand drawing, painting, watercolor, but then I didn't start doing digital art until 2018. And digital art is like my favorite. It's my favorite medium to use, because at least with digital art, you don't run out of supplies. You're
Mm,
not running out of paper. You're not running out of pencil or paint or anything like that.
yeah, no, yeah, that's definitely true. I haven't delved into digital, but like from what I've heard, yes, it helps on, like the like cutting down on the supplies and everything like that because everything is in the programs and everything like that.
Right. But from time to time I still enjoy drawing things by hand, because like it's relaxing. It's kind of meditative in a way, because you're all you're focusing on is what you're working on.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to ask because for the Motor City Witches, the third volume was the final part in the series, correct?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
do you have any plans in the future of like making maybe like a story, like a different story that's like kind of set in like the same world, or like what are the plans when it comes to like writing if you're planning to write another story? I'm just curious because how,
So
well the story went.
so I'm currently planning to do an occult anthology series
Mm.
that touches on the consequences of what happens when you like abuse magic, and basically it's going to be called FAAO, or F around and find out. And it's going to be in the same universe as Motor City Witches. Like, I'm thinking of having the introduction narrated by one of the characters, and then I'm also planning on doing a prequel about Louise and how she came
Mm.
into her power, because it is mentioned in the second book that she didn't start coming into her powers until her late teens. So that prequel will take place in like her senior year of high school. I'm still working out the details on how to write everything out.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm excited for that, especially because so you said you want to do like a continuation to really explain the story. That's gonna be pretty interesting. Looking forward to it. And what are some of the goals that you have for everything that you're doing? It could be long term, short term, whatever you want to share.
I as far as my books, I hope to one gain a big enough audience. One of my dreams is to have my books put on screen, whether it's in a television series or on film, because we do need more movies about Black witches. Um, as far as long term, as far as my art in general, I want to be able to get to a point to where I can live comfortably off my art.
Hmm. That's awesome. I mean, definitely, that's always a goal as well. Like just to be able to live off it. And yeah, definitely, that's amazing. And how has the book signings been? Because you've been doing a few book signings, and what is the process like trying to do the book signings as well? Because I know sometimes that takes a lot of like either promoting or finding different places that you want to go that may be interested in your story.
Usually just find a shop, like a local store that's willing to do it. I'll reach out to them either through messaging them or emailing them. They'll tell me what dates they have available, and then we go from there. And then that's when I start promoting. And if I need to order new copies of my books, I do that to make sure that they get here in time for the event.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And is there like a favorite place that you've been to when it comes to your book signings?
I would say Boston Tea Room, which is the metaphysical store, and they are currently selling copies of my books because it's just overall the environment is what I enjoy about being there.
Oh, that's awesome. That's definitely awesome. And yeah, definitely. I wanted to ask when it comes to the cosplay, how has it been just to interact with other cosplayers in the community or getting to do collabs with them and going to conventions?
Overall, it's pretty fun. It's like usually when I go to cons, I'm usually there to have fun. So it's like I want to hang out with other cosplayers, connecting with other cosplayers. So it's overall been a fun experience because we all have a common interest and we're connecting based around that interest. But usually when I go to cons and the community as a whole has been pretty supportive of me.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome to hear. And for those that may want to read the book, I just wanted you to share like where they can read it because I know there's multiple places that the books are offered.
Okay. So if you go to my Amazon, or if you go to my Instagram and go to the link in my bio, the website is the top link. So I do have copies on hand if you want to buy them directly from me. If you buy copies directly from me, they will be autographed. If you purchase all three books, you also get a free art print. You can also get my books off the publisher's website, which is also under my link tree. You can also get them from Amazon. And I also have digital versions as well. If you don't want a paperback copy, you can also get digital PDF copies as well.
That's amazing. And definitely, it was such a pleasure to get to learn more about you and the story and everything that you're doing. Hopefully, you had a good time.
I did too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I just want to give you this chance to tell people where you want them to follow you, what's coming up next, and everything like that.
Hey, just give me one moment because someone
Yeah,
introduced something.
yeah, no problem. Oh, hello.
Hello. So if you want to follow me, I am the same username across all platforms. So TikTok and Instagram is JadeAurora1989. And if you are a cat lover, I have videos of her too.
That's awesome.
So yeah, this is Kamaria. She's a year old,
Oh,
and she's actually her name means Swahili. It means moon in Swahili, and she's actually named after a character in one of my books.
oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's so cute. So yeah, definitely. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate you guys. It's been about a week, but we have more shows coming up, and definitely for those who may not know what I do, my name is Lizzie. My business is AnimeInkArt. So I it started with me digitally editing and doing traditional art, and it's anime art. It was anime inspired art to start off with, even though now I'm trying to do more original characters. So we're trying to get back into that. So shout out to Otaku Noir. We were their cosplay model for their My Cosplay is Black in last year. So definitely if you use code AnimeInkArt, you should get free shipping off of your order. The Series box is coming out, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Also, for those that may want to do commissions, we have our form in the Anime Ink Art one page that where you can go and check out, if you want a commission, if you want to see our Redbubble and our Shopify store as well. So also we work with Critical Care Comics. They have three chapters, one in Las Vegas, one in New York, and one in South Carolina. I'm part of the New York chapter, so we're trying to expand. So we'll be at Forest Hill Comic Con to table to promote the event. We'll also be at AniTomoCon. That's officially confirmed. That was my responsibility now, so we'll be tabling there as well. So that'll be on July 18th. Also, we have our panel for the show Anime Inc. Live Talks, where this started out as just me trying to get out of my comfort zone and wanting to engage with the community. So, and I've always supported, the Blur community, where I used to do a segment called Anime Inc. Black Brand Spotlights, where I would just highlight people on my page, share who I'm sharing for that day, and then I would put a bunch of stories and like whether it was TikTok or Instagram and put like the links for people to follow these creators. So this is like a more personal approach to it. And now it's a podcast. So if you want to be part of the podcast, we do open calls, which one was open already, and it's still open because it's year long. So whenever you have the chance, if you want to sign up, you can. As well as sometimes we reach out to people personally. So there's anybody that you want us to reach out to, definitely let us know. We'll be on the lookout for that. Also, yeah, so we do a lot of things. So definitely check out the broadcast channel and Anime Ink Art One. Definitely go to Anime Ink Art Live One, where we share the promos for the show, and then yeah, we share different things when it comes to Anime Ink Art Live Talks. And if you're going to Capital City Anime Fest on June 6th, we will also have a panel which is called Anime Ink Art Live Talks, an interactive podcast experience. So we get to dive more into the questions and things that we go through in the community and let the blurs talk amongst themselves. That's the goal for the panel. So definitely, if you're in the area, definitely be on the lookout. So definitely with that, we'll be signing out. Bye guys.